With her brother Charlie Adelson and now her mother Donna Adelson convicted for their roles in her ex-husband Dan Markel's murder, Wendi Adelson is reportedly taking steps, once again, to try and keep her and Dan's sons, Benjamin and Lincoln, away from their deceased father's family, the Markels. That's the rumor, anyway. The story goes that Wendi Adelson, perhaps fearful of being the next Adelson in line to be arrested and charged in connection to Dan Markel's murder, has already talked to her boyfriend, a guy named George Estrada, about adopting her sons, Benjamin and Lincoln. If true, does this mean that Wendi is concerned about being tried and convicted like her brother and mother? And is she then trying to not only find an adult she trusts to raise her sons, but also to make it impossible for Dan's family, the Markels, to forge a stronger bond with Benjamin and Lincoln? What I'm hearing from various legal experts, Wendi does have good reason to fear prosecution. And some are even saying if it's true that she's trying to have her boyfriend adopt her sons, is this somewhat akin to Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson going to the airport with one-way tickets to Vietnam? Do these actions show consciousness of guilt? Wendi trying to circumvent the Markels once again. You would think a mother would want her children to be with blood relatives if she goes to prison, especially blood relatives who have proven themselves to be upstanding human beings without criminal records, family members so devoted to their grandchildren that they're willing to fight in a court of law to secure visitation rights. I find it puzzling that Wendi can claim on the one hand to not be involved in Dan Markel's death, but still be gunning to try and limit the Markels' access to her sons. Those are Danny's sons too. So it's not a good look, but on a deeper level, it's another cruel jab at the Markels. What did the Markels ever do to Wendi that would make her want to completely shun them and pretty much ban them from their grandchildren's lives? To me, Wendi keeping the boys from the Markels and changing their last names to Adelson are signs that Wendi was potentially involved in plotting Dan Markel's death. This is simply my opinion. Clearly, she hasn't been charged with any crimes, so I'm speculating. However, her actions demonstrate the same degree of callousness toward Dan Markel that her mother, Donna, displayed. If Wendi had truly been horrified when her brother Charlie was convicted, if she truly did not know that he hired the hitmen to unalive her ex-husband, then she should have started questioning her mother and father, and she should have reached out a huge olive branch to the Markels and welcomed them back into being in Ben and Lincoln's lives. And in fact, maybe she should change their last names back to Markel. I mean, why have your kids sport the same last name as your thug, convicted felon brother Charlie, who helped to unalive their father, and the same last name of her mother, Donna Adelson, who was convicted for her role in Dan Markel's death? Wendi should want to separate her sons from all associations with the last name Adelson. It's not a prestigious name now, it's a notorious name, and those kids deserve better. At the same time, I worry about what Benjamin and Lincoln think about their father and his family. In yesterday's video, I shared audio of Wendy's ex-boyfriend, Jeffrey Lacasse, telling detectives that his therapist came to the conclusion that Wendi Adelson is a sociopath. So you have to wonder, what damage did evil Donna and possibly sociopath Wendi do to Benjamin and Lincoln over the years? It's unlikely that they will come out of all of this unscathed. They lost their father at a young age to murder. They were raised by Donna and Wendi, and they had a sleazebag uncle, Charlie, as a role model. But by all accounts, Benjamin and Lincoln are very bright, like their father, Dan, and it's been said that they're lovely young men. I don't mean to throw any shade on them. It's not their fault at all what has gone down in their lives. I just worry because I see Donna Adelson as very amoral. I think she imbued all of that into her children, except for Rob. So you do have to wonder, what type of imprint did she leave on her grandchildren? Remember, Donna had nothing but hate in her heart for Dan. Someone as toxic as Donna affects everybody in the family to some degree or another. I'm hoping that the boys will develop minds of their own and will seek help ironing out the tragedy of their father's death. They are additional victims of the crime, collateral damage that Charlie and Donna were willing to inflict in order to get rid of Dan. Attorney John M. Phillips said on Court TV that the domino effect of Donna's recent conviction indicates that the next Adelson in line for prosecution will be Wendy. So it would make sense that she's trying to get her sons into a situation with a legal guardian who will carry out her parenting and custody wishes. I'm sure that Wendy is desperate to keep her sons out of the hands of the Markels. Maybe not because she thinks they're bad people, because they're not bad people, but maybe because she worries about what they will tell her sons about her. She doesn't want to be unmasked to her sons. Somebody in her situation is going to want to deny to the end of time her involvement in the crime. She wouldn't want her sons to know if she was indeed involved, right? Another family law attorney said on Court TV that if Wendy were to go to prison, and because Dan is deceased, then the Markels would have custody rights. But as long as Wendy stands uncharged and is not incarcerated, then of course her rights take precedence at the moment. So she could have her boyfriend adopt the boys. And unfortunately, the Markels are strangers to some degree to Benjamin and Lincoln, and presumably Wendy's boyfriend is not. So a judge might rule that the boys should be with somebody that they're familiar with and close to at the moment, rather than with relatives who became distant through no choice of their own. But then again, a judge could decide to do what's right and just and say, these boys, even if they don't know the Markels well right now, belong with the Markels. I mean, is a judge who knows that the uncle of the boys and the grandmother of the boys are in prison because of their roles in the crime that led to the boys' father's death. I would think a judge would want to keep those kids away from the entire Adelson clan, except for maybe Rob. Rob's the eldest son, and he's a doctor, and he is estranged from the family. And note that there is some evidence to suggest that Wendy's father, Harvey, may also have been involved in the crime, allegedly. So if Wendy and Harvey are both charged and then found guilty, then the entire Adelson family, aside from Rob, is bad to the bone. And what judge is going to want kids to be part of any of that grouping? Remember Donna's words, the Adelson family always wins. That's the kind of crap that Donna instilled in Wendy and Charlie. And maybe for Wendy, winning means having the kids stay with her boyfriend. The question is, does Wendy hate Phil and Ruth and Shelley Markel as much as she hated Dan? We know she hated him because she said one time, I hate that I hate the father of my children. And let's say that Wendy gets charged, but her father doesn't. I don't think the relationship between Wendy and Harvey is very good right now. Donna basically threw Wendy and Charlie under the bus at her trial. She was willing to step over her children to try to avoid prison. And although Wendy hugged her father when she walked out of the courtroom, his reaction to me seemed a little bit cold. He might have kissed her on the cheek, but he didn't give her a warm embrace. Let's face it, the Adelson family is in tatters. Rob's the only one living a fine, solid life. Donna and Charlie are in prison. Wendy and Harvey are looking over their shoulders, paranoid and worried, I'm sure. Did you see that video of Charlie in a police van stuffing his face with food from Wendy's? The rumor is that maybe a grand jury has convened to look into charges against Wendy and or Harvey. And that might have been why Charlie was out and about that day. And then some people were saying, is this symbolic because they got him food from Wendy's, the fast food restaurant? Are they trying to send a message? I heard somebody say, no, it just so happens that there's a Wendy's right near the courtroom or the jail. See you next time on Bed Crime Stories. Please smash that like button. And
national headlines, the Adelson inmates all making a stop at the Leon County Jail in Florida. I want to show you this newly released video this morning of convicted killer Charlie Adelson being transported to the Leon County Jail in Florida last month. You can see in the video Charlie in the back of the van, even smiling a little bit. At one point, it seemed like he might have been talking to himself. Who knows? And at some point along their drive, the van driver takes him to get some Wendy's.
Ah, man. Thank you so much, man.
Charlie,
yes, sir.
We are across the street from the jail. I'll go as slow as I can, but you eat what you. I ain't gonna. You eat it all. I'm not gonna take you out the van until you're done. You good?
Any chance I could just take one cup off? It'd be a lot faster. I'll take the diet and eat. So can you stand up?
Sit down. Sit down. Chill with it.
Then I can take my shirt off too.
We'll get that when we get there.
It's just hot. All right, that's fine. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. You're the best.
Oh, look at Charlie. He seems very happy with that Wendy's.